In this video, I'm going to demonstrate how to use this spreadsheet to automate some of the processes in reverse facing DNA. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to get the results from my dad and me, and I'm going to copy them and paste them here. And then I will take all these segments, and in column B I will assign number 1 to all of them. And this is basically to tag all the segments that belong in the and, my dad and me. And then the other ones, my dad x me, I'm going to copy them and paste them, and I'm going to designate a number 2 for them in column B. And now the next step is to go ahead and sort all these rows, and I will sort them by C, which is the chromosome number, by D, which is the starting position, and then by E, which is the ending position. So now the segments have been sorted, and you can see here's one segment that belongs in the AND category and another one that belongs in the X category. Since I have already split my grandparents, my dad's DNA into my grandparents, there are some segments that are showing up, like this one here and this one here, that belong to my grandparents. So I will go ahead and filter all my segments and remove everything that belongs to my grandma and my grandpa, and I will do it off camera and be right back. So now that I have all the segments, the ones with the N, the ones with the X, everything sorted by chromosome starting position and then by ending position, what I'm going to do is I'm going to find everything that is under my email. So any of my relatives, I'm going to designate them as maternal, because I don't know anything about my grandpa, and all my kids on my dad's side match his maternal side. So I have a custom filter here called by email, so it will allow me to filter all these segments by email. And what I will do is here under P, this is P and S, this is where I designate whether the segment is maternal or paternal. And so since I know all of these 3 individuals are related to my dad on his maternal side, I will go ahead and designate them as maternal. And to do that, I will type in an M right here and an M right there. And later on in a video on explaining how everything works, I will explain why there's a need to do double entry. But suffice it to say, for now it's required to do those 2 entries. Then I will copy them, and while the spreadsheet is recalculating, it doesn't allow me to copy, so I will go ahead and copy now that it's done recalculating, and go all the way down and paste. So all the segments have been designated to or assigned to the maternal side, and I have some conditional formatting, which basically says anything that is designated maternal, go ahead and color it in pink, and everything paternal in blue. But Now I'm done designating everybody in the maternal side that I'm aware of, and I will go ahead and remove the custom filter. Actually, before I do that, there's somebody else that I know of. Um, so for him, I will designate him as paternal, because I happen to know that he's not related to my dad's half sister, so he's one of the few that I know to be on the paternal side. And now I will go ahead and remove the custom filter, and you can see everything paternal in blue, everything maternal in pink. Now there's another custom filter called unlabeled emails. Basically what this does is this particular email has been used. Let's say that I have this email 100 times, that there are 100 segments that are associated with this email. The spreadsheet counts how many times it shows up, then it counts how many times a designation has been assigned to it. So let's say I only used 98 of the segments, and this column here, column M, is basically telling me that there are still 2 segments remaining that are not maternal or paternal. So I need to find those 2 segments and assign them. And you can see all the ones here, all these are on the maternal side. So chances are that when I find those 2 segments under this email, they also need to be on the maternal side. And I know that the whole thing can be automated, but for now I decided to take care of all these by hand, as opposed to automatically assigning the M to every single instance of this email. So in order for me to find them, I'll go back to the filter by email, and I will filter by that person. And here are the 2 segments. So they're in chromosome 8, all the other ones in chromosome 5. So I will put the cursor here and remove the custom filter. And you can see the view changed, and I can see the cursor and it was in row number 301. So in order for me to go back to the location of my cursor, I'm going to click the left key in my keyboard, and there it is. So it takes me down to where I left the cursor. And if we remember, this individual in chromosome 5 was designated maternal, and I can use that information to make a decision whether I feel comfortable about designating these 2 as maternal as well. And so after reviewing the data, I can see that in chromosome 8, here's my dad's half-sister, maternal sister, and here she is again. And so I'm going to make an assumption, since I already know these were maternal in chromosome 5, I'm going to make an assumption and say that everything between 7.2 million and 20.5 million, all these will be maternal as well. So I'm going to assign maternal to these 2 segments. And actually what happens is, because I designated these as maternal, you can see this is a formula and I didn't type it in. The reason this is getting the P is because there are formulas in here that I will be talking about in future videos. But basically the way the automatic processing works is, this segment goes from 12.8 to 18, and this segment really overlaps. It's on the opposite, because you can see this is the one which is DNA that matches me. This is the opposite, and since this is maternal, this has to be paternal, and there are formulas hidden in here that take care of all the processing. Now I will go ahead and go back to my filter that finds other emails that have not been labeled. So here's another one. This individual shows up in chromosome 21, and there are 4 more instances that need to be assigned. And I can see that this person so far appears on the paternal side. So I just need to remove the filter and remember to go back to find more of these instances. So actually I can just go straight to by email and filter here. So the other ones are in chromosome 3. So same as before, remembering that they should probably be paternal. I will go ahead and remove the filter and see how it's in row 80. So when I remove it, actually left me in row 80, so I don't have to find my cursor, I'm already here. So these should probably be paternal, so I'm going to go ahead and look at them and make a decision. So here I can see that we're in the beginning of chromosome 3, and right below at 24 million I can see again the maternal side, and you can see that this maternal side has the number 2, and you can see that it switches over to the number 1. So if the number 2 is assigned maternal, the number 1 is paternal. And you remember that this email had been assigned to the paternal side in the other locations, so it makes sense that they should also be paternal here. So I will go ahead and assign them to the paternal side, and see here you can see how the formulas are already taking care of the automatic assigning of the rest of the segments. Now it's doing the ones above based on the entry that I made right there. And now I just need to look at the rest of it and make a decision on these. So from 6.7 to 24, I really don't know any of these, so I will leave them the way they are, and I'm going to go ahead and look for more emails that have not been assigned. And so now I can see this individual here is assigned to the maternal, so I will filter by email. Here in row 855, I'll remove the filter and see how the change 855 is no longer visible. So to go to my cursor, I'll press the left key, and now I'm here. And remember, these 2 were maternal elsewhere in the DNA. So now I will study this section to see if it makes sense that they should also be maternal here. Okay, so I can see that here is a maternal segment that is pretty close to it. It doesn't overlap, but it is maternal. And here we can see that the segments actually switch from the number 2 to the number 1. And I actually am going to go ahead and designate these as maternal. So M, M. And you can see the formulas taking over and categorizing some of them as maternal. I don't recognize anybody else here, so I'll go back to my view and find more unlabeled emails. And this person has 1 that should probably be maternal. So here's the segment in chromosome 5, and it should probably be maternal. And so if I look at the DNA, I can see this is maternal, and here is the switch, and this switches to paternal, so this one makes sense to me that it should also be maternal. And so I will go ahead and go back to find more unlabeled, and there is the last one, and it should probably be maternal as well. So I have one segment that I need to find. And here's the segment, and it should be maternal. It's in chromosome 13. So if I go there, it should be maternal, and it's I'm going to go ahead and make the call and actually go with the maternal on this one as well. Because this is a number 1, and I assigned it maternal, and the one above it is a number 2, and it was paternal. So to me, actually there's a big gap between them, but I'm just going to follow, and since the other one were assigned to maternal, I'll just do the same on here. It's a little tricky, but for now, for demonstration purposes, I'll go ahead and do that. So now if I go to find more unlabeled emails, there shouldn't be any more, and so I'm basically done with this particular filter. And I'm just going to do one final check in chromosome 5 to see if some individuals that I know, and yes, they have already been assigned. So basically by now this is as far as I can get, because I don't know anybody else. And so the final step is to get ready to output the segments. And so here I have another custom filter, which is called export. And basically if I go all the way to the top, and the export starts right here from column AM all the way through AQ, you will see that this is sorted by chromosome, same as the area here. And the formulas, again, there are more formulas, and they take care of accumulating small segments that are all contiguous, so that you only have one beginning and one end, even though this segment might be made up of a lot of really tiny pieces. So for example, here you can see this segment has about 103 centimorgans, but I'm pretty sure that if I dig in there and look at the details, there might be quite a few segments that make it up. So that's the benefit of using formulas. It automates probably something that used to be done by hand. As far as the centimorgans and the SNPs, this is not from the original data. In fact, you can see this particular segment has 9.1, and here it's telling me 103. That's because, again, the formulas take care of all the work of adding up all the little segments. It also takes care of the overlap to make sure you're not counting the same area twice. And I will explain in more detail how that is being done in a future video. So for now, really the export is super simple. You just click on here, the top one, you go all the way to the bottom one, select all this, and you can copy it. Actually, I'll go ahead and copy this, and all this would go to the maternal side. So if I'm painting it in, actually I have to open the DNA painter to show what I mean here. So I'll start a new profile, and actually I'll just leave it as female so we have the X chromosome or more options. So now when I paint, remember that this is mother. All of them say mother, even though it alternates between paternal and maternal. But basically, mother for the number ones and paternal for the number twos also mean mother. So all of these, even though they switch back and forth, the formulas take care of the whole thing, and actually this here tells me that all of them belong to the mother side. So if I go back to the DNA painter, I can just paste everything and assign it to the maternal side. And remember, as far as these two go, see how this says phase 1. Phase 1 means DNA that is in phase with me, DNA in common with my dad and me, as opposed to phase number 2, which belongs to my dad X me. So because I'm using a frame of reference for phase 1 or DNA that refers to me only, and from Kevin's demo, we're doing everything in phase with us on the top side. That means that it goes on the paternal side here in the DNA painter. And so now for the opposite is, if this is maternal, then the opposite here is paternal. So what I'll do is I'll copy the same area again, go to the DNA painter and paint again. And actually one of the things I forgot to do in this paint here before the first time, I should have set this to 0, because I don't really care if the segments are below 7. I actually want to see them even if they are small. So it's only a demo, so I'm not going to redo it. So save this, and this is the grandpa part of it. Same segments, and remember grandma, I sent her here, so grandpa, I'll send it here. And hopefully that makes sense, and when you see it, this should make sense to you. These segments on top are in phase with me. They are between my dad and me, and the spreadsheets say that they belong to the grandmother's side. So that's why these say grandma, and by definition the opposite should come from the grandfather's side. So now what I need to do is, on the top section I have the grandmother, now I need to do the DNA for the grandfather. So I'm going to go here, and instead of mother, I'll select father. And same procedure, I'll go from number 1 all the way to the end, copy, and I'll put these on the paternal side because they all belong to phase 1 again. So paste, this already says 0, so don't worry about it. Grandpa, it goes on the top side, and I'll use the same color again. So here you can see one small segment, Here you can see another one. Here's a big one in number 3. And now I need to do the opposite. So the same segments will be done below them on the maternal side, and I'll designate them as grandma. So copy again, paste, grandma, I'll put them on the bottom, and I'll use the same color, which I'm guessing it was that one, or maybe that one. It really doesn't matter for this demo. So here you can see grandpa on top, grandma on the bottom, and so here you can see actually a recombination. Here's another recombination. So actually, one final touch here, grandpa did not contribute the X, anything from his X chromosome to my dad, so I can go ahead here and actually delete this and delete this one as well, because my dad got his Y chromosome from his dad and everything in the X from his mom. So that's pretty much how to use the spreadsheet, and I'll do a future video on how everything worked, the automation part of it that simplifies a lot of the data entry and the manual work, and especially here how smaller segments are accumulated into bigger ones, and the centimorgans and SNPs, how they're accumulated from smaller segments. I hope that was useful to you, and I'll be making this spreadsheet publicly available, and I'll link it to my video. If you guys find a mistake, a bug somewhere in the coding, or if there is something that can be done to simplify it, go ahead and send me a message. I tried to combine the data entry, these two columns, into one single column, but I was running into the problem of circular references with the spreadsheet, and so for now they have to be separated into two, and in the future video that breaks down the formulas I'll explain why. But I hope that was useful to you.